On this episode of the Naturist Living Show, Esperanto.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show is brought to you by Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. At Bare Oaks, we offer traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Free your body, free your mind. www.bareoaks.ca.
Welcome, dear listener, to episode 165 of the Naturist Living Show. My name is Stéphane Deschênes. I'm your host for this podcast and the owner of Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. And I make this podcast with help from Samantha, a lot of help from Samantha, who does a lot of the editing. And Samantha, how are things going? Tell us a little bit how you're doing with all this work, doing editing and social media.
Thank you so much, Stéphane. And before we dive into today's topic, I want to take a moment to briefly let our listeners know that unfortunately I have been dealing with a number of health issues, as well as the ongoing social media battle of trying to not have our accounts deleted. But I do want to express my heartfelt gratitude. This podcast wouldn't be what it is without all of you, our amazing listeners. Your support, from tuning in and sharing episodes to spreading the word about naturism, keeps us so inspired and motivated. And I want to extend a special thank you to all of our incredible supporters who contribute to the show through Patreon. For those of you who aren't familiar, Patreon allows you to support creators like myself with a small reoccurring contribution. Every dollar, regardless of its size, makes a significant impact, and it is truly appreciated by me. It helps cover production costs and allows me to focus on creating content that I am truly passionate about. This episode, I want to give a special shout out to 5 supporters: Gabrielle, Ken, Noel A, Chris, and Neil H. This episode is dedicated to you, and your support means the world to us and to each and every one of our listeners, whether you're a Patreon supporter or simply just enjoying the show. Thank you for being a part of our community. Now, let's dive into today's episode.
Have you heard about Esperanto? It sounds like a Spanish word, but it's not. It's not in Spanish. It's in French. Espoir means hope, so it sounds a little bit like that. It does have a sort of Spanish-Italian tone to it because it ends in an O. But it's not. It's not. It's a made-up language. It's a made-up language. It's a language that was created well over 100 years ago to be a universal language. And what does this have to do with naturism? Well, I've known for years about the Naturist Esperanto. It's called INOE, or in French is saying Inoe or Inoe. Anyway, it's been a part of the International Naturist Federation for I don't know how long. As long as I've been working with it, I've heard about these folks that gather together to learn and speak Esperanto. I guess it makes sense that they're part of the International Naturist Federation, since they are an international organization trying to create a truly international language. But it's always been curious because we never had until last year, it's 2025 right now, until last year at Congress, and we revised the statutes of the INF, we did not have a structure for other international organizations that want to be part of the INF, other than federations. So we do now, and so they've always been recognized, and now they are more officially recognized. So, but I had a chance to meet with Thierry, who is French but speaks English very well, as you'll hear. And he's a lovely man. I've run into him in a number of places because he likes to travel. He was at the Zipolite Festival last year. And I've seen him in France a few times. And he's a very kind, very giving man who, obviously, when you volunteer for these organizations, whether it's naturism or the Esperanto, and he's doing both, you are a person who cares about others because you are giving of your time and money and self to help make the world a better place. So I thought you might enjoy hearing about what he does and what Esperanto is and why he thinks it's a good idea and how it fits into naturism.
My name is Thierry Spanjaard. I've been a naturist for almost as long as I can remember. And I'm more than 60 years old now. And 15 years ago, I started to learn the Esperanto, the international language that had been created end of 19th century and positioned as a tool for peace between human groups and between people globally.
Is that a new thing? The Esperanto? How long ago was that?
Esperanto was actually created by a gentleman called Dr. Zamenhof, who was living in Poland or on the borders of the Russian Empire. He was living in Białystok in northeastern Poland at the end of the 19th century. And his first books, The Principles of Esperanto, were published in 1887.
Okay.
And Esperanto is a collaborative work, and people were started to exchange letters for years in order to improve the structure of the language, to make suggestions, proposals for change. And in 1905, a book that was called La Fundamento, the fundamental, the basic things for Esperanto, was published and freezing all the principles of the language.
Okay. So, but why? Why a new language? I mean, why not just everybody's learning English now, no? Isn't that the universal language?
Of course, just try and do anything with English in remote regions in China. And you'll tell me if you find anyone speaking English correctly enough to interact with them. The idea of Dr. Zamenhof, he was living in Białystok. At that time, there was different communities in the town. There was Russians, Poles, Germans, and Jews. And of course, there was permanent fights between all those communities. And his idea was to consider that if there were fights, people were actually fighting each other because they were and they were dependent on the decisions made by their government or head of community or whoever. And the idea is if we give people a common language, then they will realize that the people from the other communities are nice enough, they are good people enough, and they will stop fighting. But the common language could not be the language of one of the communities, because it would mean imposing and giving more power to our communities and to the others.
And back then, if there was a common language, it was probably French, huh? That was the language of diplomacy?
It was the language of diplomacy, but probably not of lay people at that time.
That's true, yes. Yeah.
And even less in Eastern Europe. So he realized there was a need for a neutral language, and the way for a new language to be adopted was to make it as simple as possible to learn.
Ah, okay.
And to make it simple, he made it very structured, very regular, so that everyone could learn it easily and then speak a common language. And of course, the global objective is to reach peace on earth.
Right.
The history of the 20th century proves that it has not been working as well as it should. But however, this was the original goal of Esperanto. It is a tool for peace thanks to an easier understanding between different people and different communities.
So what makes it easier to learn?
The Esperanto is, first, the grammar fits in 16 rules with no exceptions.
Okay.
It's pronounced as it is written, it's written as it is pronounced, unlike English or French or many other languages. And the vocabulary is Indo-European, so with words coming from all the Indo-European subgroups, the Latin, the Anglo-Saxon, and a little bit of the Slavic languages. And in every case, Zamenhof has always tried to find the radical that was the most common between different European languages. And then the great idea is that you build new words by adding prefixes and suffixes to existing radicals. For instance, you learn the adjective to say warm, varma. Not difficult from English. Instantly, you can add the prefix which is mal, which means the contrary, and you can say malvarma, which means cold.
Ah,
With this, you've divided by 2 the number of adjectives you need to learn the language, with just one prefix.
and how many tenses of verbs are there?
There's a present, a past, and a future.
Okay.
A volitive, which is a mix between giving orders or giving suggestions,
Okay.
and a conditional.
And that's it?
And that's it.
Oh, that's a little bit less than French.
That's a lot less than French, but they are very powerful grammatical tools, which are the participles. In addition to those tenses, they are very powerful grammatical tools that are the participles. Think of English, for instance. You've got a present participle, which actually has an active meaning, and a past participle, which actually has a passive meaning.
Okay.
Think of all the use of the participles, and you realize they're actually more active and passive than present and past.
Okay.
In English, you've got 6, in Esperanto, you've got 6 participles. Present, future, and past. Active, present, future, and past. Passive. And by playing on those participles, you can explain that an action took place in the past before another action, or in the future before or after another action, and so on and so forth. But again, this is built in a very regular manner, with no exceptions, and with the same principles applying to all verbs and everything you need to say.
As you said, though, it's based on an Indo-European structure. And earlier you talked about going to China where people don't speak English. Is it as easy for people in Asia to learn? Because they have a very different language structure.
It's easy to learn for people who speak Chinese, for instance, because the way to build new words in Chinese is similar to Esperanto. For instance, to say a dentist in Chinese, you will say is a doctor for the teeth.
Okay.
In Esperanto, to say dentist, you will use the word doctor, kuracisto, and teeth, dent. And dent kuracisto is a dentist. So the way to put together words in order to create new concepts is actually the same way in Chinese. However, obviously, the Chinese need to learn have got more effort to make to learn the vocabularies than people already speaking Western languages. Zamenhof created Esperanto as a word language in the vision of the world of the 19th century, when Europe was colonizing the world.
Yes. So we're here at CHM Montalivet in France, celebrating the 70th anniversary of the International Naturist Federation. And as long as I can remember, there has been an Esperanto Naturist Association. Why is that? What's the connection?
Well, there are actually lots of connections between the values of naturism and the values of Esperanto. Naturism is the respect of oneself and respect of other people and respect of nature, based on nudity in common, which also means being non-judgmental and respecting people in their diversity of looks, of course, but their diversity of opinions, their diversity of origin, and so on and so forth. Esperanto is exactly in a similar manner, respecting people independently from their origin, opinions, whatever, by practicing a common and neutral language, which is more respectful of original cultures than using natural languages in international communication.
So are there a lot of naturist Esperanto speakers?
More than you think.
Oh, well, I don't know.
Okay, let me rephrase it. More than I thought.
Okay.
I am here as the president of the Esperantist Naturist Association. And I know that we have around 60 members in more than 20 countries. And every day in an event like the one in which you're participating now, I meet new people who is heard about Esperanto. So of course they are naturists, we're in a naturist center. They have heard of Esperanto, or they already learned Esperanto, or they're actually Esperanto speakers. And every day I discover new Esperantist naturists.
So you're in associations. What do you do?
Okay, a couple words about the association. It is called INOE, which stands for International Naturist Organizo Esperantista.
Okay.
I suppose the words are transparent enough in English.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an International Naturist Esperantist Association, organization, whatever. What we do, the objectives of the associations are creating a bond between naturist Esperantists, pushing Esperantist values among naturists, pushing us. I'm repeating this. Supporting Esperantist values among naturists, supporting naturist values among Esperantists. And so this is the global objectives of the association.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do we do that? Well, we participate in interviews made by naturists when we speak about Esperanto.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we are doing right now. We participate in naturist events when we present Esperanto, talk about Esperanto, and try and make people get interested in it, and of course learning the language. We participate in Esperanto events where we explain what naturism is, what are its values, and we propose naturist activities.
And so what are the naturist activities you do?
Well, let's take the example of the last International Esperanto Congress, which took place in July 2023 in Torino in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
On the first day of the Congress, there's something that's called La Movada Foiro, the fair of the movement, where every single Esperanto association comes and presents what they do.
Mm.
There are maybe 100 tables. In Torino, it was in a courtyard. And people present their associations. So there are associations about everything in the Esperanto world. There are associations of architects, of journalists, of lawyers, but also of friends of cats, non-smokers, Go players, you name it. And we are the Naturist Association in this context. So we present what what we do, and we explain people what this is all about. We also had our meeting, which was open to everyone to come and learn more about naturism. And we organized an excursion to a naturist center, which is called Le Betole, which is nearby Torino, where we were very welcomed by the people in Le Betole. So this is the way we promoted naturism among Esperantists. When we were in Le Betole, we made a quick conference explaining about Esperanto to the naturists who were there.
Ah. So you do a lot of talking.
At the end of the day, yeah.
So when you present the Naturist Association to all the other people in the Esperanto Association, how do they react?
Very positively.
No laughing?
I never ever experienced any negative reaction.
Okay.
Some people are just not interested and they walk away. That's fine. And lots of people are interested, and we get the usual answers about naturism. Oh, I'm too shy to try. My body is not nice enough. I'm sorry, I've already booked something else for this Wednesday. This kind of answers.
Did any people join you who were not part of your association or not
Yes.
naturists?
Yes, there was quite a number of people who joined us without advanced planning. They decided a couple of days before to join our excursion. They were naturists already. They were naturists and Esperantists, so were just not part of the association.
So the objective originally of Esperanto was to get people to promote peace and understanding. Is that working? Is it helping?
Well, the Esperantists want to believe it helps. Esperanto is represented in international organizations. We have representatives in the United Nations as well as in UNESCO, where we promote the values of Esperanto as a tool for a better understanding between people and for a more efficient way of communicating.
Mm-hmm.
We also promote the Esperanto in the European Union. We're in the interesting situation in the European Union where we have, I think it's 26 official languages, one of them being English, and English is not supported by any state that would be a member of the EU.
That is true.
Ireland pushed for Gaelic, and Malta, which is also English-speaking, pushed for Maltese.
Ah,
So, as the UK is no longer in the EU, there's no government supporting the English. However, European institutions theoretically have 3 working languages, English, German and French, and more they work only in English.
mm-hmm.
So trying to push them to adopt Esperanto as one of the official languages of the EU, as it has the advantages that it is extremely easier to learn than the natural languages, and it's very precise.
Mm-hmm.
On top of allowing people to speak Esperanto, it's a good tool to make translation towards Esperanto because you don't lose any content during the translation process.
So that's good. But I'm going to go back to the question because you didn't really answer it. Do you think that Esperanto has helped promote better understanding among people and peace in any way?
Actually, in the Esperanto community, people tend to agree on the fact that there are 2 sets of goals. There is a ultimate global high objective, which is to bring peace on earth.
Yes.
And there is a day-to-day objective for many Esperantists: meet nice people, travel around the world, have good friends, have fun with them, and that's it.
Okay.
And in this way it works perfectly.
It's okay that you didn't achieve the goal. It doesn't mean you should give up either, right?
It depends on who you listen to in the Esperanto community. Some people find that the low-end goal, just to meet people and have fun with them, is perfectly okay for what they want. Some people believe there's a place for Esperanto to be visible for the public, to have a place in the international institutions, to promote our values and so on. And these are the ones who are pushing for representation in the UN, in UNESCO, in the EU, and so on.
Are there any countries that recognize Esperanto in any way?
There are some Esperanto communities that are more recognized than others. There's a village in Germany, with, or a small town, which is called Erzberg, which is an Esperanto village, where they push Esperanto as a means of communication in the village. People learn it and so on. In Bialystok, where Zamenhof was living in the 19th century, they have made all signs bilingual, Polish and Esperanto, and so on. And there are Esperanto centers in many locations as well.
Interesting. So the thing about language is it can become very complex, right? People who are writers and who are poets and things like that, they play with the language, and you get very complex ideas and meanings. It sounds to me though like Esperanto is simple, which is good, but does that take away from the ability to write complex thoughts and ideas?
There is a lot of literature that's published in Esperanto.
Yes.
And all kinds of literature. There are novels, there are research, there is research, and there is poetry written in Esperanto. Esperanto is at the same time precise and also very flexible. The order of the words in a sentence is free, and playing on this and playing on sounds, these are tools to build poetry.
Sorry, what do you mean the order of the sentence is free?
Okay, let's say the cat hits a mouse. La cato, the cat, manjas, the verb to eat, la mousson.
Okay.
And there is a minimal declination in Esperanto with nominative, accusative. For people who have been learning or are speaking German, Russian, or any other language with declinations, or people who learned Latin, so remember that declinations are very complex, very long, very difficult to learn. In Esperanto there are 2 cases, nominative and accusative. An accusative is built by adding an "ed" at the end of the sentence. Which means, If I say la cato mangias la muson, it's a cat eats a mouse. If I say la muson la cato mangias, the sentence is absolutely correct and the meaning is exactly the same.
How do we know it's not the mouse that ate the cat?
Because the object is marked by the N, which is the accusative. So it's la muson and not la muso.
Ah, okay. Yes. Yes, so most of our listeners, it's an English podcast,
I understand it.
do not understand
I'm
declinations.
not familiar with declinations.
So can you explain that in a few words?
A declination marks the rule of a word in a sentence.
Right.
So, for instance, the object of a verb, the object of the action of a verb, is marked by the N, which is the mark of the accusative. When I say the cat eats a mouse, the subject is a cat, and the object is a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order to mark this grammatically, the mouse is put in the accusative case, and it has an N at the end. And if I say la muson mangias la cato, the mouse is still the object, and the cat is still the subject. And the only correct translation in English will be the cat eats a mouse. If you put it the other way around, the meaning will definitely not be the same.
Yeah, that's right. So, and it gets much more complicated when you get into German. I took a little bit of German, but yes, it's painful. I don't think I will ever understand, but we'll see. So don't take this the wrong way. But when you write books for children, whether in English or in French, you make the language very simple.
Yeah.
Because they do not understand the language. Isn't that in a way what you're doing with Esperanto? Making the language very simple, so it's almost like talking to children?
No, because at the same time the grammatical tools and the vocabulary tools are very powerful. You can build new words by combining existing roots and prefixes and suffixes, and you can be very specific in what you're saying.
Right.
You can get into scientific vocabulary, be very specific about what's going on in a given field. You can go into poetry and so on. And it's definitely, it doesn't have the limits of a kiddie language. Now, the nice thing about Esperanto is that everyone has been learning it. Every Esperanto speaker has been learning Esperanto. Except a few people who are the kids of Esperanto-speaking parents and, taught it as a first language. All others have been learning it. And everyone's conscious that people have got to learn, and they have beginners level, intermediate levels, before they are totally fluent. And there are publications targeting the Esperanto community globally, and there is a set of publications for the beginners in Esperanto. There is a website, for instance, which is called Uea Facila, which is in easy Esperanto, so that beginners are able to understand it and to improve their language skills through reading this.
So if somebody wants to learn Esperanto, how hard do they have to try and how long will it take?
What is usually said is that it's 7 times faster than learning a natural language. So of course this is very global. It's easy if you speak French to learn other Latin languages, and it's more difficult to learn Chinese.
Right.
So it's 7 times easier than the average time you would need to learn another language.
So what is that? How long will it take?
To reach the level of secondary studies, for instance, suppose you speak English and you're learning French, you go through high school, so for 6 or 7 years or something like that, you reach a given level. To reach the same level in Esperanto, you will need 1 year.
Okay. But what does it realistically take to be able to communicate in Esperanto? How long would it take before somebody could?
I'd say it depends on how you learn.
Yeah.
You can go to a course once a week, and I'd say in a year you're able to have a good conversation. In 2 years you'll be fluent. You can go to a training for a week or for 2 weeks, and then after 2 weeks speaking Esperanto for the whole day and following Esperanto classes for the whole day, you will be fluent. Or you can learn online. You can learn through Duolingo or other methods. And then after, I don't know, a few hundred days, you're going to be fluent.
So
Depending
that's...
on how I do that.
Yes, and it probably also depends on how old you are. I learned English in 6 months.
Yeah.
And I was completely fluent, but I was 12.
But you were a teenager.
Yeah, I was 12 years old. So it's amazing at that age, because I remember I moved there in the spring and went to a little bit of what was grade 6. Then there was a summer where presumably I know I was not in school, and I don't know how many people I could have been speaking to, except my parents only spoke to me in English, so I would learn, my sister and I. And then September I started grade 7, and I don't remember having difficulty in grade 7 already.
Yeah. And by Christmas you were totally fluent.
It seems, because I don't remember. I remember the grade 6 because it was painful, because nobody understood me, and the children are cruel, especially back then. So, but I don't remember the problems in grade 7. So it must mean that I was okay then, and that's shocking. I wish I could learn a language that easily, but also being immersed makes a difference.
Yeah.
Can I be immersed in Esperanto? Can I go someplace? Where would I go?
There are Esperanto centers. I don't know of any permanent Esperanto center in North America, but there are several ones in Europe. In Germany, there's Herzberg. There's also a place that's called Esperanto Stazio, which is an old train station nearby Berlin. It's 40 minutes by train to all the main train stations in Berlin. That has been converted into an Esperanto center, where they run classes on a regular basis and so on. And in France, the Esperanto community owns a castle in the Loire Valley, where there are several Esperanto training sessions during summer. As the castle is more comfortable in summer than in winter. So
as many castles are.
Between May and October, there are training sessions during the whole summer. And as being the Esperanto Naturist Association, we run a week of Esperanto class in a naturist mode, which is the first week of July every year.
And where?
In Le Château de Grésillon.
The same chateau, okay.
Yeah, which is in the Loire Valley, close to Angers in France. That's 2 hours or 3 hours southwest of Paris.
And how many people take part usually?
Between 10 and 20.
Okay. And you are...
Naturists are a minority. In other Esperanto training periods in the same place, sometimes there is up to 50 people.
Right, but the 10 or 20 are all in Naturists.
Yeah.
And you're nude the whole time?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, that's good. Is there...
Weather depending.
Is there swimming?
There's no swimming pool, unfortunately, in this castle.
A little sunshine?
There's... usually in July in the Loire Valley, it's sunny enough and warm enough.
Yes, but you have to be able to go outside. Can you go outside?
Of course.
Oh, yes. Well,
of course, depending on the weather, we give the classes either inside the castle or outside on the lawn.
So you don't have neighbors looking at you, so there's no problem?
The grounds are wide enough, so it's 12 hectares, including some woods. And there's enough space to be free and naked anywhere outside.
And if people are not learning well enough, you put them in the dungeon?
We've not yet have had to do that.
That's good. So they're trying hard enough. So the language itself, so it's over 100 years old. Yeah. Obviously, things change. Languages change, and usually it's the people, the youth, often that change it. Does the same thing happen with Esperanto?
Yeah, of course. The language is flexible enough to allow to create new concepts and to integrate new concepts that appear in the world into the language. Television, of course, was not existent in 1887.
I don't think so. No.
It has been built the same way as in other language. Vido, which is the view. The verb vidi is to see, and the view from a remote place, televido. Okay. And a TV set is a tool to see this concept of television. Televid ilo. Okay. Ilo is a suffix that means tool.
So you could still write TV as well if you wanted, yeah?
Yeah. you could.
Because that's also a word that is used in almost every language, is
Yeah.
TV. Everyone knows TV for some, even if it's not a Spanish or Italian word. So that's interesting. What's internet in...
Internet is interreto. Reto is a network
Okay.
or a net. It can also be a physical net.
Can it be a fishing net?
Yeah.
What is it then?
Fish reto?
Fish. Oh, fish is fish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fish is fisho. All nouns finish with o.
Ah, yes. Okay.
So fish in English would be fisho in Esperanto. And when you combine fish with reto, a fishing net, would be fish reto.
Can it be reto fish?
That would be a fish that has something of a network.
Ah, okay.
So why not? But I can't really think of an example.
Ah, yes. Well, maybe they know each. Well, maybe when you have a school of fish, what would you call that? When the fish
Fisharo.
fisharo, which is
The suffix ar
yeah.
means a group.
Ah, okay.
Chevalaro is a herd of horses.
Okay.
A school of fish would be fisharo.
Huh. But it's a bit of a fishereto, no? Because they communicate with each other.
Yeah.
You said I can make up my own words.
Of course.
Okay. This is a creativity, right, of,
Yeah.
of people with language.
That's a very nice thing about Esperanto. I'm a native French speaker. I've been speaking English for a few decades. I'm not allowed to create words in French or in English.
People do that.
Yeah, but it doesn't really work.
No, and then there's the official people who tell you you're not supposed to use the words.
Yeah.
But that doesn't...
In Esperanto, I can create words whenever I need them.
It doesn't prevent, by the way, in French, the young people from creating a whole new language called verlan,
Yeah.
which is very confusing to me because I don't know all those words.
Yeah, of course.
So, but that's what young people like to do,
Yeah.
to
that's what
confuse the adults. We all did that when we were young too. So, what is email?
Red messaggio. It's a message sent over a
the
network.
And spam. What's spam then?
Maybe fi messaggio. Fi is a derogative prefix.
Okay.
A note, a person, the suffix to name a person is ulo. Grandulo is a tall person.
Okay.
Fi ulo is a naughty person.
Okay.
The fi messaggio is a naughty message. It's spam.
So now we're getting into the realm of insulting people.
There's not many insults in Esperanto.
Any swear words?
It's more or less the same issue as with insults. You can create insults and swear words and so on, but you will build them through the same set of radicals, suffixes, and prefixes.
Okay.
It's not creating new words out of nothing. It's creating them with the right Esperanto rules so that can be understood by everyone.
There's people who argue that swear words, which exist in every language, have an important role. They put more emphasis on things, and they allow people to kind of push and provide strength to something. Are there any words like that in Esperanto that everyone agrees? That when you hurt yourself, you scream it in... What do you say in Esperanto?
Esperanto is a language of peace, and we try to keep people peaceful.
Yes. Yeah, but when you hit your toe on the corner of the table, that's not an insult to anybody. But you want to yell something. Well, you can say "ow," but people tend to use an expletive, huh?
Yeah, I can't think of what I would say in Esperanto if I hurt my my toe, for instance. There's always a way to express disagreement or whatever. You find ways. Whenever it's needed, you always find the right ways to do so.
So when you have an Esperanto gathering, people never get angry at each other and yell?
Of course it does happen. They are humans after all.
Yes, that's right. And what do they yell?
Vi fiulo.
Which means what?
You're a naughty person.
Seems very mild.
Mi ne credas vin. I don't trust you. Mi ne plu volas fari ionajn kun vi. I don't want to do anything with you anymore.
Yeah. That would be the point across, yeah?
Yeah, you can always create ways of expressing this kind of
Yes,
things.
and people will, as they...
Of course they do.
So, what's the future for Esperanto?
Well, what's the future for languages?
Well, the languages will always be around,
Yep.
but some will die, and some will grow.
As of now, there are still 6,000 languages on Earth, and some die every week. It's sad. Languages that end up being spoken by very small communities, and at the end, one person, and when the person dies, the language dies with the person. And the evolution of languages is that the most dominant language kill the weakest ones. So the dominant language of the time is English.
Right.
It has not always been so.
That is true.
And there's no certainty about the future. Will Chinese be the dominant language of the near future?
It is already the most commonly spoken language,
Yeah.
but in a very localized
first
area.
language.
Yeah, as in a very localized area as well.
Yeah. Oh, not so localized. Meet the Chinese community in the US, in Canada, in Europe.
True.
They will speak Cantonese, or Hokkien, or Fujian, or Mandarin in some cases. And in a couple of generations, they will probably all speak Mandarin.
Are there any people who do simultaneous translation into Esperanto?
Yes, of course. And there's a degree for that.
So you can listen in Esperanto.
To recognize if people are the accredited translators.
That would be convenient because then you could translate everything into one language instead of having to do all the multiple across languages.
That's the idea. Instead of having translation between all pairs of languages, which means tons of translation, translating everything into one language so that everyone can understand. And this is typically what we're pushing at the European Union. There has been evaluations of the cost of translation at the EU, which is in the billions of euros.
I'm not surprised. How many languages in Europe for people who aren't from Europe? Official languages that the EU translates into?
I think it's 26.
26? Okay.
There are 28 members in the EU, and German is used for Germany and Austria. I don't know what could be the other language.
Because I know that there's
Belgium.
Luxembourger, and they probably don't translate to Luxembourger.
And Belgium is already covered by Dutch and French.
But Flemish and Dutch are not the same.
So this is to say there's not as many languages as, as nation states, but not so far.
But for people who are in the United States and places like that, it must. I don't think they appreciate just how complicated it is to translate things into, let's say, 26 languages, maybe. I was once speaking to one of the translators in the INF that was here, works for the United Nations as a translator. And he was telling me that when they do a draft for a document, they tend to work in English. Yep. And then they translate it into their own mother tongue, whatever they represent. And he says the better versions, the English is never the best version, because nobody is a native English speaker. So they do not speak well. Their grammar and their speaking is not as good in English as it is in their native language. So the better versions are the other languages, not the English one.
And then does it translate back to English to have a final version in English as well?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. If it's not an official language of the EU anymore. It is still?
It is.
Still. Even though there's no...
And that's part of the issue.
They should have taken it away.
It's no longer supported by any member state.
Yeah.
When the UK is out.
It could be. I think it should be a working language because it's practical, but it should not be an official language.
It's still an official language.
That is very strange.
And that's why the Esperanto community is pushing for adding Esperanto to the list of official languages.
Yeah. Well, I can see the practicality of Esperanto. It could be the working language that everybody works in, and then goes back into their mother tongue. Because we're not getting rid of the other languages. You don't want to do that, do you?
It's absolutely not the objective of Esperanto. The objective is respecting everyone's own culture, everyone's own language, everyone's own history, and have Esperanto as an auxiliary language for everyone.
Okay. A common language.
A common language, and which has the advantage of being neutral.
So when you live in Friesland in Netherlands and they speak, what is the language? I know it's a different language. They don't
I
even
suppose they speak Friesish, Friesen, whatever
Something like
that's
that.
called on a daily basis.
But I've learned
Whenever
that
they need to interact with anyone else, they will speak Dutch.
They speak Dutch, yes, but they do not identify as Dutch. I've learned to not call somebody from
Okay.
just like do not call Catalan people Spanish either.
Yeah.
It's complicated, huh? Cultures in Europe.
Yep.
But I think
But
that's what
that's
makes
why-
it interesting, eh?
A Catalan will tell you Spanish or Castilian is an imperialist language, whereas Esperanto is neutral.
Right, and nobody's offended by taking.
Absolutely.
That's good. So, what is the future? Is it growing? Is it the number of Esperanto? The members of the association, is it growing?
Yeah, it has been growing thanks to the availability of the internet for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The internet is the best tool for typically a diaspora, people who have interests in common and that are scattered around the US. So now there's tons of Esperanto websites, tools, messaging systems, everything. And people can interact on a daily basis in Esperanto.
Okay.
So this has helped growing the community. There has even been something interesting that we saw in the last year Congress in 2022 in Montreal. There is a universal Congress every year in Esperanto in a different location. In 22 it was in Montreal, and there was the usual attendees from Western Europe, from Central Europe, some North Americans, quite a number of Latin Americans, some Chinese, and so on, some Africans. Esperanto is doing well in Africa as well. And there was a group of young Americans and Canadians. And what we discovered is they all learned Esperanto during the lockdown due to the COVID crisis. Because they were not busy at that time. Some people are curious, heard about an international language and said, okay, why not learning it online? And they learned it online. They exchanged only over the internet, either through video conferences or just typing text. And it was the first time they were meeting other Esperantists. And discovering
Interesting.
the Esperanto community, history, culture, and so on.
So, is there more people, Esperanto speakers today than ever before?
It's hard to count. There is no official head count of Esperantists.
Right.
It's the same question as how many naturists is there?
That is always a difficult question to answer. But you must have an idea.
So the question about how many Esperantists there are is as difficult as the number of naturists. Usually we say something between 2 and 10 million globally.
2 and 10, that's a big range.
Yeah.
And do you think there were more 20, 30, 100 years ago?
Maybe there has been lots of enthusiasm for Esperanto after between World War I and World War II. Because there was a real will to go towards peace after what had been happening in World War I. People were looking for new things, new ideas, and so on. And the idea of an international language that would be a tool for peace was very interesting to many people. And there have been lots of organizations setting up, created in Esperanto, using Esperanto as their main language or only language in some cases, and so on. It's hard to say how many people it represented, because I suppose at that time it was a very European and North American thing, and that was about it.
Right.
Although there was an influent Esperanto community in Persia, for instance, between the two wars.
Okay.
There were Esperantists in Japan, but I suppose the bulk of the Esperantists were in Europe and in North America.
Do you know which country has the highest concentration of Esperantists?
I don't know about the highest concentration, but there are countries that are always very present in congresses. There are the Germans, the French, the Brazilians, then the Chinese, but even a very small percentage of Chinese represent a large amount of people.
True.
There's a number of Japanese also participate on a regular basis to Esperanto congresses. And but there are smaller countries, people coming from Central Europe, so some Czechs, some Slovaks, some Hungarians, some Poles, when it's a larger population. So yeah, there are people from coming from different places.
You didn't mention
different
Canadians.
cultures. I count Canadians among North Americans.
Oh, okay. So Mexico too, then.
Yeah. There is a quite interesting group of Esperantists in Mexico.
That's good. So tell people if they want to. They're very interested now because of everything you said. How do they move ahead? How do they learn more about either Esperanto or probably because they're listening to this podcast, Naturist Esperanto?
Okay, about Esperanto, look for Esperanto on the internet. You'll find a few websites explaining you what is Esperanto and what are the basics of the language. To learn it, you've got essentially two options. Learn in a classical course with a teacher in front of you, or learn online. To find a classical course, there are Esperanto classes in many places, in many cities on Earth. Just look for Esperanto in the name of your city, and you'll find out what's going on.
Okay. Now tell the same thing in Esperanto.
Compreneble, vi povas lerni Esperanton ie ajn. Serĉu rete la nomon de via urbo kaj la vorto Esperanto, kaj vi trovos kio okazas en via urbo.
Oh, that's good. Hey, that was very, very smooth, very fluent. And for Naturist Esperanto?
Let me go to Learning Esperanto Online.
Okay, sorry, yes.
It can be done through Duolingo, which is a global
Yes,
system
we
for
all
learning
know
lots of
yeah.
languages, and Esperanto is one of the languages you can learn through Duolingo. There are two languages that have been developed, two courses that have been developed by Esperantists. One is called Lernu. Lerni is a verb to learn. Lernu is the imperative. It means learn.
Okay.
Now. So Lernu.
Exclamation point.
Yeah. You look for Lernu, Lernu, online, and you'll find it. And the other one is iCurso, Interreta Curso. Curso is a course, and it's an internet course. So IKURSO, and it's an online course of Esperanto.
Okay.
Now, about Esperanto and naturism, look for our association website,
Which is?
which is esperanto-naturismo.org.
Okay.
More easily, use a search engine and just type Esperanto and naturism and you'll get there.
Yes. Or look in the show notes where we're going to put a link to the website.
Very good.
Yes. Good.
The website is almost totally in Esperanto.
Ah.
There's 3 sections explaining about Esperanto in English, French, and German. And for Esperantists who don't know about naturism, there is a section that explains naturism to Esperantists.
Okay.
And then the rest of the website is about our activities, our program, and so on.
Does Google Translate Esperanto?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, so they could translate your entire website if they want to know.
Absolutely.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing all that with us.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it.
So at first, when I heard about the idea of Esperanto, I thought it was a pipe dream, and I think it still is. It's been around a long time, and it's not really catching on in a massive way, although, as he pointed out, it did grow a lot because of the internet and because of people being stuck during COVID at home. But, fundamentally, it's actually a really interesting idea that I really like. I wish we could make it work. Because language is complicated. I speak 2 languages. French is my mother tongue, but I'm completely fluent in both. And you realize that language has so many exceptions. It's not a mathematical equation, and translations is complicated. Words have different meanings and different power behind them. One word can sound a lot more severe than another, even if they are synonyms. A lot of language is culture, and you have to understand culture behind certain words. Example, in between Quebec, even though Quebec and France speak the same language, French. In Quebec, a swear word in French is religious, and in France, it has more to do with sex as it does in English. So you have to understand that a word that is innocuous in France is a horrible insult or offensive concept in Quebec, and vice versa. So language is complicated, and so a native speaker has a big advantage when negotiating and discussing things. And here is a language, Esperanto, where it is simple, because that's the other thing. If you learn other languages, you have, in German, you have things like declination or inclinations. I don't remember exactly what it is, which is an additional complication if you're not used to, as an English speaker, to gender, masculine and feminine. And gender makes no sense. Gender in French is not the same for things is not the same in Spanish or in Italian. And even within French, a bicycle, une bicyclette, is feminine, but another name for it is un vélo, and a vélo is masculine. So there's no logic or rationale behind many of these rules. It's just things that have developed culturally over time, which makes language very, very complicated to translate and very complicated for non-native speakers. So here's a concept, a language, which has been intentionally made consistent without exceptions, that is easy to learn because the rules are consistent and simple. That doesn't have 100 different variations of verbs. That doesn't have to worry about a lot of things like genders and things like that. So it means it's easy to learn. It means that when people express themselves, it's a lot clearer and simpler because there's not 1,000 ways to say the same things. And I don't take away from that. Some of the beauty about literature in a language, when you know it well, is that there are so many different ways you can say things and you can create new ways. But that complicates things when you're not a native speaker, and that complicates things when you are trying to discuss and negotiate at an international level between people who have different languages and different cultures. And here, with Esperanto, everybody's on the same level, on the same plane, because nobody's a native speaker. Well, maybe in the future some country might adopt it, I don't know. But either way, most people are not native speakers, and even if you are, it's a very simple, clear language that makes the discussion much more mathematical, almost, much more like something that a computer would easily understand. And, with AI now, we're actually getting computers that are starting to understand. But it took us this long, and the amount of computing power that is necessary for AI to understand us in our native languages is enormous. And it's still not doing it perfectly. You'll get there eventually. But I'm sure with Esperanto, that wouldn't be necessary, and it's much simpler. And if you want to play with it, it's interesting. Take a sentence and go to Google Translate. There's a link in the show notes. And you can translate to Esperanto there. And you translate a complex paragraph into Esperanto and then back. And you'll see the language you get back in English is much simpler and clearer because I think that's what it does. So anyway, interesting idea. So that's all for this episode of the Naturist Living Show, and I thank you, as always, for listening. Again, my name is Stéphane Deschênes, and I'm your host for the podcast and the owner of Bear Oaks Valley Naturist Park, and I make the show with lots of help from Samantha, who does all the editing and makes things easier by organizing things for me and pushing me a little bit so I get things done. The Naturist Living Show's theme song is The Day We Met by Mark Hodges. We've had it since the very beginning in 2008. And so I hope you'll support Samantha and her work on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Naturist Living Show. Just one word. And again, remember, none of the money is for me. I'm already compensated by my business. So this is, I do this podcast because I enjoy it and because I want to keep informing you, our listener. But I appreciate the fact that I can still do it despite being so busy because Samantha is doing the work and because we have so many supporters who are donating money every month so that she can get paid and do this job for me. You can find links to all the items that I talked about in the show and more on the website at naturistlivingshow.com. And so keep sending your comments and your suggestions and your ideas and your thoughts, and we always appreciate getting them. We read them all, even if we don't always have time to reply. The show's email address is contact@naturistliving.show.com. And we're on a variety of social media as well, which you can get from our website, naturistliving.show.com. I hope you enjoyed the show and that you'll join us again for the next episode of the Naturist Living Show.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show was brought to you by Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. Traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Traditional values means that naturism is more than just taking your clothes off. It is a life philosophy with physical, psychological, environmental, social, and moral benefits. Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park strives to promote those naturist values in a modern setting that provides the amenities and services that our members and visitors expect. Free your body, free your mind. Learn more at www.bareoaks.ca.
All U.S. troops are oriented on aggressor armed forces, equipment, history, and basic characteristics, just as if they were entering combat against an actual enemy. The aggressor soldier is provided with identification documents in the Esperanto language. He is identified by uniforms different than those worn by regular U.S. Army personnel. Changes in design of the aggressor uniform keep pace with the swiftly changing nature of modern warfare. Insignia of rank and organization also differ from those of U.S. troops.